Joel's writing on there too?
I'm sorry?
Is your son's writing on there?
Yeah, my son writes most of the content. He and I work together on it. Sometimes he does an interview of me, a bit audio, just a phone interview, and then he'll write content. But we're back and forth all the time. But he's writing the articles, yeah. He just is doing a short series on some of the Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is, when you read the book of Proverbs, it's about a father's direction to his son. That's how it opens up. And so he's writing just some, he's picking some highlighted verses in there and talking about it. He's just doing such a great job. Yeah, it's really, really fun working with my son.
Yeah.
And his writings are all available on the Christ
Yes.
and Rock.
Yep. And there are three tabs for the blogs. Father, Son, Adventure, which is this one, and then there's this is One Man's Journey, the Wednesday morning blog, and then Father, Son, Adventure, and there's one other one that I can't think, there's one other tab on there, and then he will write content and post it appropriately under the heading. Right now we have 3 headings, so we're trying something new this morning. We're going to try to actually video record this session. And so if I look at the camera, it's because I know enough about this now to know how this works a little bit. If all of a sudden during the presentation the camera starts spinning, then we know we lost it. So we're on a little adventure here this morning. Well, last time we were together, we're continuing with our One Man's Journey. We're just wrapping up this section in there on the blessing. We're looking at the dynamics that occurs in that encounter, or in the encounter between the Father and the Son. We've looked at the safe, when it's a safe environment. It would be great if all relationships were safe, what we would deem as safe, but that is not the case. And so we've introduced the idea of what is an unsafe relationship. And last week we talked a lot about characteristics of what an unsafe relationship is. And it's like, I was using this silly little drawing here from last time, that what it feels like is that in a relationship, in two people talking here, and they're on solid ground. That's what the picture is supposed to depict. And one speaks to the other, and then the response, if it's unsafe, what it feels like is that the ground below you starts to come away, and you start to feel like you're falling. That's how I would describe the general feeling of unsafe, is you feel like you're falling, and you feel like you want to protect. You got to hold on to something. And unfortunately, because of our nature as human beings, we tend to grab for the wrong things. And that is the idea. So we looked at a video last week to show how in the movie Home Run, Emma was the victim in the whole story. She was the one that was pregnant by a man who abandoned her young in life. She raised the son in an honorable way, and now he has come back and he has reformed. He's transformed his life, and she has issue with that. It reminds me of a story in the Bible of the older brother. He was there the whole time. And when the little brother came back and the father extended grace to the younger, the older brother had issue with that. And it really correlates a lot with where we have all been there. We have all been there. This whole ability that, or lack of ability to forgive and to restore and to bring things back the way it was. It's part of who we are, unfortunately, as human beings. So that's what we're talking about. is this idea of unsafe. And here is the unsafe model. And if you look at it, what we have is that instead of the gate here, that gate being closed right there and allowing remember we were talking about these experience packets, and instead of those experience packets being filtered down on this side, now the gate is in the closed position and they're over here on this, I've depicted it as a darker side, this category of unsafe. Have you been there? You know what it's like. We tend to start casting people in a way that no matter what they say to us or what we say to them, it's skewed in their head as unsafe. And the reactions are obvious about what it means. They feel like they are falling, or we feel like we're falling, and we start to grab for the wrong things. And that can dramatically affect how we relate to that person and other people for in our entire life, unless we work through that. And that's what this whole idea here of the healing zone, of which we'll get into next week. What is it we do? We categorize these experience packets are so powerful. They don't just go away, both on the positive side and the negative side. And so here you have, I've seen this, where you have a dad reaching out to his son in an embrace, and the son is stiff as a board. Well, that's because the son can't be there in that moment at that time. I think probably all of you have experienced this. Have you ever given someone an embrace that they're stiff as a board? Yeah. And it's because there's a disconnect there, and there is a feeling of unsafe that has to be worked through. And the only way through it just doesn't go away. There has to be a process, and we're calling that, the healing zone. Well, got the wrong pen here. The healing zone to be brought to transform that unsafe experience into a safe experience. So this morning, that's the model. And this morning, what we want to do is look at 5 things that we generally do as human beings to compensate when we feel unsafe. 5 things that we grab onto. And hopefully we can relate to these. First one is disappointment as a lifestyle. Okay, what do I mean by that? That means in a particular relationship that I choose to position myself in that relationship or in that setting so that I will never feel unsafe. Okay. Do you know what I'm talking about? This is the typical playground strategy of, I don't want to play your stupid game. And the reason is because I was always chosen last. Do you know that one? So if I can beat them to the punch by saying, I don't want to play your stupid game, then I'll never get hurt.
Chicago Cub fan.
The downside is we choose to live in this area of safeness that we call safeness, but it's really woundedness. And I'm protecting myself from falling by remaining in this safe zone, but I also cut myself off from the true, the valuable human emotions of joy and love. We can't selectively choose. If I choose to be here, I can never experience exhilaration through a joyful and loving relationship. I can't go there and not here. I don't have the ability to select. And that's what some of us tend to, this band of what we call safe, I'm going to not allow myself to go outside of that because I don't want to be disappointed. Well, in reality, it is disappointment as a lifestyle. Have you ever known someone who just, if it's good, they can't allow it to be good? If it's bad, they'll find who's wrong.
That's the
From
whole,
us German descent.
That's the whole theme of Garrison Keillor's Great Home Companion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. If our family's like this. If something's wrong, by golly, it's got to be somebody's fault. And if it's good, we can't allow it to be good. We got to find something wrong, you know. This is a wonderful dessert. Oh, I should have just added a little bit more sugar, you know, around the Thanksgiving. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Well, we're having some fun with it. Okay, disappointment as a lifestyle. The second one is low-grade disconnection. This is similar, but instead of attaching the idea to disappointment, it is primarily in relationships. If I can allow myself to almost be there, I can guard myself. You know what it means to be in a relationship where there is a unspoken, maybe an unspoken law, or what do you call it, guys? When guardedness. Yeah, I'm looking for a different word, but
Boundaries?
well, I look at boundaries as healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Defensive?
What's that? Defensive. Yeah, defensive would be that would definitely be an example of what I'm talking about. Caution. That's the word actually I'm looking for. Caution. Where the relationship is almost like a toe dance, where I step and they step. And you're playing around something. There's something there in the no man's land, and we don't really talk about what it is. Okay. Walking on eggshells could be one idea.
Elephant
But
in the room.
an elephant in the room, yes. But it's the idea of if I can disconnect from that, I feel less pain. And so I become the person who is cool and collected all the time. But the downside of that is just like disappointment, we can never really connect. And we hold ourselves from back from what God through Christ has done to experience the true joy and true love and true peace that we can gain through our human relationships. It's a guardedness. Same idea. The next one is too much technology here. Is perfectionism right there. Perfectionism. And I don't mean excellence. What would you say is the difference? I just made that statement. Perfectionism versus excellence. How would you cast that in your minds right now? We're talking perfectionism or excellence. How would you differentiate between those two?
Someone who's trying all the time for excellence. It's foremost in their mind to be that way, rather than just relaxing and doing good, or
What would be the reason, Carl, to keep striving for a higher standard?
the awareness of your own failures, I think.
Anybody else?
I could make a distinction in striving versus, a goal, but having done that, they'll still blur. I mean, you'll find yourself crossing back and forth.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But the good question to ask is, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like excellence is attainable. Perfectionism is largely unattainable.
That's true. Yeah.
I think one big difference would be in perfectionism, you may be trying to avoid something if you're not perfect, whereas the other, trying to attain excellence, is more of a striving forward without regard to maybe what the consequences are.
I think that's a really great answer, Dick. Is perfectionism is tied to something other than excellence.
Can I just confess my situation?
Well,
I'm-
no, you
I'm-
can't.
I'm pretty perfectionistic, and I've traced it back to a very critical mother. And so I wouldn't get in trouble if I did everything the way I was supposed to. And that's carried on in my
Yeah, there
pretty
you
much my
go.
whole life.
And you've realized that you can talk about that. So we're working through that. But Dick, what's true of you and what you just said is true of the rest of us. We all have things that we're working through. You know, the overbearing father, or I think of a story. When I was in the 4th grade, I wore husky jeans. And I would, on the back label of my jeans, it said, I wore husky. I was overweight. And I just was devastated. I wanted to hide the label. Because anything different, when 4th grade playground is brutal. Here comes husky. You know. Yeah. Well, so the way to the way to compensate for that, Dick, is by golly, I'm going to work out, and I'm going to get lean and trim, and that's good. But when it gets to the point, keep moving through as years go on, and you start viewing yourself as I got to keep working out. I got to keep doing it, and you get past this point of health to perfectionism. I've got to be perfect. Obsession, yeah. Where the only time I feel good about myself is after a workout. I've done it.
You know, Mike,
Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
there's also the outcome. If you're not sure what you're doing, look at the outcome. If you're looking for perfection, it's going to isolate you. I mean, you're going to be bouncing from church to church, from mate to mate, from friend to friend, because you're going to continually be disappointed.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
And excellence kind of can unite you into task.
Uh-huh.
If you've done a little better, you can feel good about it.
Right, and you can, I think Carl used the word relax. You can relax and enjoy it. That's healthy. But where I can only feel good about myself if I've accomplished thus and so,
I keep
then
thinking.
that's not healthy.
I keep thinking of the next member here, I won't mention, who was in search of the sinless life and ended up isolating himself from just about everybody. We don't even know where he is now.
I can't remember that. I don't need to know.
Don't need to know.
Don't.
Yeah.
So perfectionism, you know, the 200-pound or the 150-pound shield that I wear around me, and I appear to be Superman in some way, but it's a shield that I'm using for self-protection because I feel unsafe in who I am, and I need to add this to make me appear something that I think I need to be. Perfectionism. The next one is extremism. And extremism. Now this is one I think is really interesting, especially for people of faith. Extremism is faith plus an invulnerability. Faith plus a sense of invulnerability equals extremism. Have you ever known someone in the realm of faith, in our realm, that are so tied to key selected scriptures pulled way out of context, where that person becomes a demanding to God for for whatever they're asking God for. Do you understand? God, I'm a child of God. God owes it to me. There is, especially in the realm of healing, where there is a demand of healing. Yes, I believe we need to pray for healing. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? To the point where even going to a medical doctor would be viewed as a lack of faith. Guys, setting ourselves up for a huge disaster. Do you know what I'm talking about? And it's all, in a sense, a protection. Because in reality, I feel very invulnerable. Very vulnerable, in setting that up.
I think,
Yeah.
I like that, but I like a little different definition. I think
Yeah.
that's when being right takes precedent over knowing the truth.
Yeah, good. Explain that a little bit more. Did you hear that? Being right, where we view being right is more important than knowing the truth.
Well, I don't know, expand on it, but I have a certain worldview and scriptures and things that fit together beautifully for me in a situation that it's tied down, I got it solid.
And that I have it.
I have it. And
I-
if somebody cracks that facade or something comes, it's extremely threatening to me.
Uh-huh.
Because if I don't have it right, then I might cast the whole thing overboard altogether.
There you go. That's good. I've used the realm of what do you call it? Name it and claim it is what it's generally called. But I know that Steve and I, and maybe Steve would disagree, I don't know, but a lot of our background, you can correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of our background is with a really great group of people, but somehow we got the idea that we had the right way to do church. And if you feel, would you say that's true? If I mean, we use terms like we're meeting in God's appointed way, right? Well, so if you view yourself as the right way to do church, where does that put everybody else? Isn't that hilarious? A group of 50 people sitting around on Sunday morning thinking we are the ones that are doing it right.
We got the revelation.
We got it. And Christendom is just not quite where we are, us 50 people. It's really, it's funny to think about it, but extremism in that sense. I'm very grateful for our background. The emphasis on Jesus Christ, the emphasis on taking the scriptures seriously, and the emphasis on the men in the congregation taking the role in leadership within that congregation. Those things are invaluable. The emphasis on worship in our, but unfortunately, every week we came together, we were reminded of the fact of, yep, when we're leaving that church, we've done it right. And that's a really unfortunate, that's an unfortunate outcome of something like that. So.
I'm grateful that I don't have to judge. This past week, my roommate is probably a leading Velcro specialist in the world.
Velcro?
Velcro. Velcros, yeah. Anyway, it's just what's good, but he is so gay. He talks about his husband. When I come back and he'd be talking to this guy, he's talking to him the way I talk to my wife. I mean, it's really hardcore gay. But on the other hand, because I don't have to judge him anymore, we had quite a wonderful relationship, and I learned a ton from the guy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me; it was the grace of God. It's that Jesus Christ lets me be in the kingdom of love, and God's the judge about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's a good story.
but I mean, wow.
Yeah, you don't feel like you get to a point where I don't have to protect God. I don't have to speak out and try to correct someone. No, God is bigger. Yeah. And that's a great story. And you can actually really enjoy the relationship.
Yeah. There was a time, however, where my extremism
I think we all-
blocked me off of that.
Right.
I would have called the director and said, please put me in a different room.
Yeah.
Well, part of me wants to say, but, in the example, but.
We'll leave it there.
I was just gonna say, where is, you know, I know our world is really headed in this gay agenda thing. And I would say, but why haven't the Christians stood up as much as the gay people?
Carl, I don't have an answer. Just leave that one alone. All we're hearing, Carl, is Everett's journey and what he has learned through embracing a situation that he cannot change, and actually learning and growing through that. Is that not true?
Well, you know,
Yeah.
I love the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I'm great,
Yeah.
but I could have completely turned off, and I didn't. And I praise God for that.
Yeah.
Now, the other side of what Carl is saying, we all had to take a child molestation course. University required it. So we are all sitting around this room, about 6 or 7 of us, going through this hour-and-a-half course. In the course of it, all these people had to look at themselves very closely. I said, praise God.
Yeah. I think we need to pick our battles.
This verse in Romans that hits me pretty hard on here, and Carl's right, but generally we tend to want to defend ourselves without subconscious, but the bottom line, Romans says, it is the love of God that leads people to repentance.
Right.
So to the degree we express that without compromise is the challenge.
Yeah. Rob Bell wrote that book, Love Wins,
You know,
got ostracized, crucified. Rob Bell.
and
Go ahead.
The scripture that came to mind whenever it was talking is just the first 3 words in 1 Corinthians 13:8. Love never fails. And that's what you were doing. You weren't operating in your own spirit. God was giving you that love to reach out to this.
I hope so. I pray that, yeah.
You know, Jesus' words on the cross, last words. Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing.
I mean, in Carl's defense, I certainly don't agree with that lifestyle.
No, right.
I certainly
Yeah.
think he's cut himself off from something very, very
Right.
important.
Right.
And that is relating to a woman. I mean, come on, that's a challenge. You know, I mean,
Everett, you gotta remember, this is being recorded here.
Well, I mean, you know, all that said, Christ can fix all that. So, I mean,
And he will fix it.
he will.
He will
That's the
fix it.
thing.
Yeah.
That is the thing. It's going
Whatever needs to be fixed. There may be some things in there that I think need fixing that really don't need to be fixed. Maybe I need to be fixed. Well, the last one, guys, and we'll wrap with this, is the idea of numbing. And I think within our culture, this is just running rampant as far as we are the most numbed culture, I think, that probably history has known. I would say in our westernized society's affluence, where we can buy numbing products, we have the ability to buy numbing products, and it's easier to numb than to feel the pain. Whether those products be over the shelf, or we buy products and consume products, either drugs or alcohol, in order to numb. Entertainment, the whole realm of the pornographic materials that are out there that are so free and accessible to us, to us men. It's all about numbing. If I can numb, if I can entertain, then I can pull myself out of this unsafeness for a period of time. And the unfortunate thing is that what we think we're controlling ends up controlling us. And that is the downside. So, yes, Jim.
It's like asking people in our nation, it'd be like asking a fish, how's the water? Because he knows nothing else. And we have fallen into this apathetically, and it's just disapproving the fact of right and wrong. And it's rampant. I can't even I haven't watched TV for 2 years, other than Christian shows that are on the Christian networks. But all you have to do is see a commercial, and in 30 seconds you think, what has happened to our morals? On a commercial.
Well, it also makes the whole point of commercials, which are so entwined with presentation now it's hard to separate them, is to create a sense of inadequacy. I mean, that's the point. If you're inadequate, you'll buy what the product is, and you'll feel more inadequate.
And that is the point. If I am less than I need to be, if I purchase this product, then I can keep incrementing up.
Right.
Exactly the subject we're talking about. So, the subject of unsafe. We've drilled down and we've looked at 5 human tendencies of how we compensate for this feeling of falling. Next week we're going to wrap up, and you're going, wow, thank you. We're going to wrap up with this whole thing of seeing the model in action as far as blessing. And then we'll move on from there. We'll actually going to get back to the text in Genesis chapter 27. So, thanks for coming. You guys treat me way more than treat me better than I deserve. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
You know,
Thanks, Mike.